Hey guys, we got some super exciting news for you. On this episode of Save for the Blind podcast, we have Lucas Mashter from TETRA. He's the Vice President of Marketing and Communications.
TETRA is now the newest sponsor of Save It for the Blind podcast. We are super excited to put their products to use in the field, and we're going to talk all about their products right now. You guys have wood ducks, and you guys could swan hunt. Is that South Carolina or North Carolina or both?
North Carolina when you get up towards Virginia.
Yeah.
Actually, but yeah, one of my buddies got one of those tundra swans in his basement now. The thing takes up a wall.
Yeah, they're ginormous. Well, today we have Lucas Mashter with TETRA Hearing, the VP of Marketing and Communications, to talk about your guys' products. I know we're super happy to have you on. We've been looking at your products for a while, and hearing's one of those things that any duck hunter needs to be cautious about. I know my hearing, since I took your test online, I was pretty shocked. My hearing's not great anymore. And if anyone knows me, I usually don't shoot with earplugs on just because I can't hear my duck call. But you guys have solved that problem, and we're really looking forward to hearing about all your guys' different products. So, Lucas, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me, Carson and Jeff. I look forward to this discussion and obviously diving in on what sets us apart from the rest. But yeah, I mean, that's the basis and the premise of TETRA Hearing. It's hearing protection without compromise in the field. So essentially, that's what we're trying to achieve and do together. And California waterfowl and conservation groups similar to you guys are exactly why we do what we do. And obviously, it's for the hunter first. And after that, we want to protect and enhance those memories for years to come.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So kind of you opened it up. What does set your product away from, the other hearing products on the market? Because I've used a brand for a while, and I get kind of the same thing, Jeff. I can't hear my calling fully. I get some wind noise. Sometimes I'll take them out because they're not comfortable. So what did you guys kind of start with to separate yourself?
So we always baseline it, just like you guys went through the motions already, which makes it even easier to have this conversation with you guys today. Everything starts with a hearing test. You can't pair two people's hearing next to each other and make it so they actually are the same. So it's no one fit size, or not a one size fits all scenario. So what we do is we start with a hearing test. If you have any hearing loss, we bring you up to level, and then from there we base off of what you want to hunt. So we're the only hearing technology company in the outdoor space that builds programs based off the pursuit that you're going to hunt. So that's what we really like to pride ourselves on. I know you guys actually mentioned not being able to wear hearing protection because you couldn't hear your call dissect. I mean, that takes away from the experience. So what we wanted to do was build a brand that solves that problem in a modern day era. So without taking away from the nostalgia of hearing the ducks call, whistling wings overhead, you don't have to compromise that while protecting your hearing. And one of the most leading facets is that early stages of hearing loss actually lead to onset stages of dementia and Alzheimer's in a later years. So all those memories, everything that you preserve and believe in, it goes out the window if you can't hear. So what we're trying to do essentially is kind of remedy that, and also be the company and the brand that supports the hunter and never takes away from those experiences that you could have in the field.
Yeah, I think me personally, I might have told this story on the podcast before, but I realized probably now, maybe when I was 23 or 24, that I was starting to have hearing loss in my left ear, and I was laying in bed. My wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, was watching TV, and I rolled over to one side, and I was like, wow, it is a lot louder than if I roll over to the other side. And I was like, why is my left ear not hearing as well? And I'm thinking, I shoot a lot of guns, but why is my left ear? I'm like, that's the ear that's closest to the muzzle of my gun. And all of a sudden it clicked. I was like, I'm losing my hearing, and I've got a long ways to go that I need to be able to hear. And since then, I've been trying different products to try to figure out what works best for me. But that was an eye-opener, because when I was hunting and, I was 16, 15, 14, my dad would always give me the over-ear, big, clunky ones. You try to get your shotgun up, and it hits it, and it's just like, it just made me so frustrated. I just stopped wearing hearing protection for a while, and that kind of wake-up call was when I could physically feel myself not being able to hear as well on certain sides, definitely kind of shook me awake into like, okay, I need to figure out what I need to do to be able to wear these comfortably out in the field. So looking forward to trying your product, because at this point, the ones that I don't have, I have still not my favorite.
No, I totally get it. No, honestly, and the beauty of that too, from a customer service aspect, the whole team that we've got in house, Amy, Troy, Reagan, Dr. Bill, like the customer service aspect never stops. So what we're doing is we're playing with a mixing board, which is all the frequencies that allow you to really like fine tune your hearing or listening experience. So I mean, it allows us to adjust to be able to hear different calls, different things, exactly how you want to, because obviously a spec call is severely different than that of a mallard duck call. So being able to really fine tune it based off the pursuit goes a long way. So we've worked with some awesome partners and folks to help contribute to those programs over the years, but it's been kind of cool because waterfowl has definitely been our biggest consumer base and biggest part of the Tetra community from day one. So it's been kind of nice to see how that has evolved and even expanded across the country, because it honestly started as more of a regional brand and it's quickly taken off. Obviously, you guys have been hearing about it and the partnerships that we're talking about doing together. But no, it's a cool product, and like you said, the bulky earmuffs, it's kind of becoming a thing of the past.
Yeah, definitely.
Just in the sense that gun positioning, shooting in general. But I mean, you hit the nail on the head. You're probably right-handed, if I had to guess.
Yep.
So obviously, that left ear is more affected. If you think about it, the way you orient your body all the time, whether you're running a chainsaw, weed eater, so on and so forth, your body's always orienting to that same exact ear. So that ear is always getting the brunt of it. So if we're able to stop that hearing loss in its tracks and not add to it and preserve where you're at, and then obviously accentuate for what's missing, it goes a long way.
That's super cool. So as a new customer that comes to Tetra's website, I know you guys have a hearing test that you have any potential customer take. You want to kind of dive in on what that hearing test is and what you guys, the data you're collecting from that?
Yeah, 100%. So what we're doing is we're breaking down the hearing test that you're talking about is equivalent to a VA hearing test that like you would take out when you're getting out of the military, or you're doing an OSHA approved class, something of that nature. So what we're doing is we're taking the customer through a series of high to low frequencies by ear. And what it is just subtle beeps. And usually you can do this right at home, put earmuffs on and really walk right through it, but it'll actually depict what programming we need to do to bring your hearing loss back up to normal, if you have any. For folks that don't have any, it'll just redline, and that's right where you want to be. But for the folks that need a little help,
that was not me. I was not the red line.
No. And honestly, some people are taken back because I mean, you're thinking about it too, and it's a guy like, no, my hearing's good, until you realize like the turkey hunter is notorious for this specifically. But when they can't hear that spitting drum or like those really low frequencies anymore, it's that like, it hits home, and they're like, I don't want my grandson to be like I don't have to bring my wife or my grandson in here to locate turkeys for me, or hear whistling wings overhead when they're in the blind. Like I want to be able to experience it just like I did when I was younger. So it's kind of that revival. And it generally hits that older generation, but when you start talking about like hereditary hearing loss and like onset effects at an earlier age, it's more likely now than ever because music's louder, cars are louder. I mean, you drive down in a Jeep with the top off, I mean, you're breaking well over the decibel barrier that you're supposed to be for safe listening. So being able to truly understand how much can truly affect your ears, even in a duck boat going down, the wind will give you ringing ears for days after the fact. So tinnitus and things of that nature are commonly asked questions by our consumer base and the community at Tetra.
Yeah, one of the things when I was taking the test, I wanted to make it as real as possible. And I felt like if I was pressing the button for the sound, then I would kind of be looking for it. So I had my wife on the laptop, and then I was off in a distance looking away from her. So I wouldn't know when she was pressing the button, just when I could hear it in my sound. Because I was like, if I press it and then I'm looking for it, I might be able to hear it better than if I'm just listening and I hear it. So hopefully it comes through to exactly what I'm missing in my hearing.
That's similar to what we do at shows, in all seriousness. I mean, we have a sound booth that we bring around to different shows and shooting events. And it's literally the same concept, because the guy, like, you'll notice the people in the booth, they'll start looking up, and every time you're making eye contact, they're trying to see if that's when the thing went. So they'll try to cheat the test, but
Yeah.
it doesn't do you any good when you cheat it.
That's what I figured. I figured subliminally I'm probably going to try to cheat if I'm clicking it and listening for the sound, as opposed to not knowing when that sound's supposed to occur.
That's right.
And Lucas, if you go on your guys' website, there's a variety of different ear pods. Can you go into the different types a hunter would look for?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have the shields and the amps, but
Yep.
you have turkeys, elk, range clays, etc. Can you walk us through some of those different products? And I know some of them have where you have to have the custom molded, and what the process of
Yes,
that
sir.
is, getting those custom molded to your ear.
Okay, yeah. So basically, I'm going to start with the pursuit-based hearing. So just jumping back. So what we call that is our standardized target optimization programs. So what that allows us to do is build patented pursuit-based programs based off the algorithms you need to hear or not hear in those hunting environments, right? So we would take the frequencies of, like, vibration of wings overhead, or that call, or your duck call, or the gunshot, or clear communication. So our goal for each of those programs is to give you distance and direction advantages, reduce wind noise, but then also, on the flip side of that, really hone in on the key attributes and the environmental sounds that you want to pick up as a duck hunter, a turkey hunter, an elk hunter, so on and so forth. So based off of what you want and how heavy of a trigger pull, so if you're around continuous noise, or you go to the range a lot, or you're in a duck blind, duck hunters specifically, same with upland hunters, are notorious for heavy trigger pull, right? So that's where it differentiates our amp series, which is probably the amp pod devices you saw on the website, or our shield series. So within our shield series, we have our alpha shields, which are a universal fit device, and then our custom shield devices. So basically, to steer you guys in that direction, our amp pod devices are more for one shot uses. So, like, if you're elk hunting, deer hunting, turkey hunting, it's really made to help enhance and localize sound. It will dampen the shot, but it is not considered full protection. It will protect your ears. It will bring it down to a safe listening level. But if you are going to run a boat motor, you are going to run a chainsaw, a weed eater, a tractor, do any land management practices, or go to the range, if you're a wing shooter, classify as a wing shooter, we're going to steer you over to the shield series. So from there, like, our alpha shield products actually fit 95% of ears, which is extremely high for in-ear protection that's non-customizable. So we have a seashell shape to it, and what that allows us to do is program up to your hearing loss, as well as up to 6 different programs. So as hunters, a lot of folks classify as, like, I'm a waterfowl hunter. But during this season, I like to spend time at the range, or this time of year, I like to go fishing. So what we've really done is we've taken those STO based programs and have built them into more of a multi-pursuit opportunity. So you don't have to just have a one device for every activity. You can kind of combine it all. So depending on hearing loss and the needs and what you plan on doing in that year, that's how we help steer and navigate, obviously, to what hearing protection best fits your needs. And then to answer your question about custom shield devices, so what that is, it's just an extension of our universal fit device. So very similar from a programming aspect, but what that allows you to do is get that custom fit, custom mold. After the age of around 11, your inner ear doesn't change a whole lot. It doesn't fluctuate a whole lot. So what that allows a lot of folks, especially in the shooting community, to do is gravitate over to the custom shield. And we do make that an upgrade option. So they get a good feel for the technology. They understand what we can do for you. especially in the field. But then that custom shield is just kind of like that pinnacle or the upper echelon of what we offer. But it's a really cool process. We actually started a clinical affiliate program where you can actually visit our website, find an audiologist near you, go there, get your impressions, kick them back to us. That is also a service that we offer at shows that we're at. Or folks come to the office every once in a while over there and just outside Nashville. So folks will come in there, do the hearing test. We'll kick it out. Three weeks later, we'll have their impressions back. We'll program them, kick them back to them. It's a really easy process. Once you get the ball rolling, but we actually built a configurator on the website to help kind of bring it down to layman's terms. So, hey, do you have hearing loss? Okay, great. I do have hearing loss. Now, what do you hunt? And then it literally helps you depict what is best suited for you from a TETRA experience. I hope that answers your guys' questions.
Yeah, no, it does. I was just curious. Yeah, my biggest question was, you answered it. How would you get those custom fits? And that totally makes sense. You guys are working with people locally and sending it back. So,
What about?
Yeah, and some of those folks, like if you get an audiologist or you get like a clinician who's a hunter too, and for some reason, most of them are duck hunters, or at least the ones that we've pinpointed to date. Like I just met this one out of Charlotte, and she is like avid. She grew up in the Midwest, waterfowl hunting specifically, and she realized that was a need that's missing in those clinics. So what we've developed on that side is a program where it can be an extension. So obviously folks are coming in there to get hearing aids, but okay, how do we go back to the root of the cause of why you need hearing aids? So what it is just killing two birds with one stone, and it's helping build that community and those relationships with those folks.
How do you guys combat the risk of these devices falling out of ears? Obviously, if you spend a good chunk of your money to protect your hearing, the last thing you want to do is be walking through the marsh and a little bit of rain hits your ears and all of a sudden they're in the bottom of a rice field.
That's a great question, and it's actually ever evolving. Obviously, every company that you guys probably work with has a research and development team. So we do have on our custom shield devices, and it's actually applicable now on our Alpha Shield devices. We have a retention system or a lanyard system. So it's actually a hook and loop model. So it'll actually loop through the device and it'll wrap around your neck. Actually coming up this waterfowl season, you guys will get kind of a sneak peek here coming up, but we're going to actually develop our own call lanyard where it can actually use a S clip. And so, I mean, you can have your calls and your devices paired or intertwined, so you don't have to lose them at the bottom of the marsh or drop them at the bottom of the blind, things of that nature, because obviously it's just protecting your investment. So that's something new to come. We have had a retention system for quite some time now, but accidents obviously still happen. If guys do drop their devices, we have a chamber or a dry chamber in the office. So what a lot of folks do is they'll actually kick it back to the office. It'll suck like a bathtub worth of water out of it. But you'd be amazed how much moisture and condensation can get in those.
Yeah, it's a big fear of mine because, like I said, I've had some others that haven't fit as well in my ear, and I definitely feel when it's raining them starting to slip out a little bit, and that's the last thing I need is to spend money and then have it sit in the bottom of a marsh.
Yeah, I mean, you put an investment into your hearing, you obviously don't want to lose those. Just like anything, your duck calls are expensive, right? So we have nice lanyards so our calls don't fall off and in the marsh because there's a lot of money riding on that, right?
That's right.
Can you talk about the different type of decimals between like duck calling and shooting and like just the long-term effects without like someone like myself not wearing any type of protection on your ears?
So really it's so basically anything over 80 decibels is deemed unsafe for the most part. But what we do is we take it with our Alpha Shield compression technology and we bring anything over 80 decibels and we bring it down to a safe listening level. So we'll bring it down by about 20 decibels. So running a chainsaw, running a tractor, a duck call is generally getting over 110 decibels on the low end. So being able to truly like dissect those algorithms and those decibel levels goes a long way. But that's been a major component of the algorithms and how we're building those. I mean, even a dog barking, the launcher, we actually developed a dog training program a little bit over a year ago. I think it was about a year and a half ago, but we were thinking about the dummy launchers, clear communication, being able to communicate with other handlers, things of that nature. So we took the dummy launcher, actually pulled the decibel reading off of it, and that's how we developed that program specifically. So those are generally well over 110 because you're shooting a 22 cartridge for those as well. So that's really how those programs are developed. We're going out in the field, pulling sound files, and then trying to tweak those and modify it until we get it right. So we're kind of like guinea pigs to start with, but eventually it works out.
Gotcha. Nice.
So are you guys still collecting decibel data on different things that are out there?
Yeah.
It's just kind of always evolving.
Yeah. Yep. No, 100%. So like some of our biggest challenges to date have been like thinking about like echoed noise. If you think about it, like if say you're in an indoor shooting facility or you're in a blind with like a cover over top of it and you're getting that constant feedback or rain down, the deflection is what gets you. So that's what we've definitely tried to test from like an R&D aspect and figure out like, hey, how do we fine tune this? The range customer actually is a great example, and the team and I were actually talking about this morning. A lot of people from a shooting perspective, like when they're practicing with their coaches and so on and so forth, they need to be able to hear 180 degrees in front of them. But in the off chance they have an emergency or they need to hear the coach to like directly behind them at a 45, like we need to be able to hone in on the directionality and the distance of that individual and what the problem is. So what we do is we have an environmental mic that allows for some of those ambient sounds to still enter, that are obviously not harmful. So what it allows us to do is to fine tune it. And what we've done actually with that range program, for instance, is we accentuate like the thrower arm and the clay break, the safety on the gun. So those are like the key facets that give you not only an edge from the line, but it keeps it safer at the line too. So same with the blind scenario when you're teaching a young gun hunter like how to points of angle, so on and so forth, or range of fire. Essentially, you can communicate them, walk them through that without ever compromising it and them saying, huh, what'd you say, the whole time. So it just takes away from the experience, and it really lets you pull in. But we're constantly pulling new sound files and frequencies. And a lot of times guys will come up and they'll be like, hey, man, I love these, but this reversal on a golf cart is insane. Can you please remove this? And we've actually removed that like at specific events we've been at. And obviously I know a lot of duck hunters have reversals on their side by sides and things of that nature too. So it goes kind of hand in hand.
So you can kind of make adjustments pretty quick on your guys' products.
Like
Yes,
let's
sir.
say on
Yep.
the golf cart thing, like if someone bought a pair, would they send them back to reprogram so you don't hear that sound at a higher decimal? How would that work? Like let's say if I bought a
Some
pair,
peop-
yeah.
So it's really case by case on those ones. So like it just so happens we go to some of these specific shooting events every year. Same with like obviously conservation partner events. We go to generally all of them in a year as well. So what we do is we'll actually fine tune them if we know the person and they reach out to us ahead of time. The team can actually like fine tune them there, or we'll just have them kick them back to us and then we'll turn them around after they get reprogrammed. It's generally pretty easy. It might take a week or so in the mail, but a lot of guys will just adjust it around their seasonality and their season schedule.
Yeah, I think that's really attractive to me for the product is that, say your spec call for some reason you tuned it yourself and it's hitting some crazy high decibels,
Yeah.
and it's not a general, call. It's cool to have a company that will take that product back and fit to whatever the sound is that you're experiencing that it's not catching for some reason. Like it's kind of all inclusive. You never really have to worry about it.
Yeah. Well, I think
Absolutely.
it's neat. Like, let's say if you bought the Alpha Shield waterfowl ones, like you could use them for a bunch of other stuff other than waterfowl hunting, tractor work, chainsaw, or whatever. To me, having one product that does it all is beneficial on your budget and just being able to use it more than just your specific season.
Yeah. So what's the difference in these, like the waterfowl Alpha Shield, and then you have the multi-pursuit Alpha Shield? So is that just more optimization for multiple things as opposed to the waterfowl just being a waterfowl?
Yeah, so what we do is actually it's got a voice prompt. So what it'll actually do is it'll say you want 6 programs and you want or a lot of guys will buy a waterfowl and then they'll buy a 90 level device, which is equivalent to like the horsepower of the device. So what that allows you to do is add additional programs later on. So say you start with waterfowl, but you want to add land management, we can actually do that after the fact. So our 90 level devices will allow up to 6 programs in them. So say you want a waterfowl program, an upland program, a dog training program, maybe a turkey program for spring, and then land management. Those would just be 5 programs, and then maybe a range program. So what it is we just basically customize it based off of what you do in a year, and then that's part of that multi-pursuit program. So we do have like our set. Hey, this is what we would suggest for you. But guys are generally crafty, and we've had guys who are going on a moose hunt in a year, or going on a dangerous game hunt over in Africa, things of that nature, where they need to hear something a little bit differently. And if we have the program for it, we can actually we do sell additional add-on programs where we can substitute until they get back, and then we can readjust it back to their original programming as well.
So does the 60 versus 90 technology need to be purchased during, or could you potentially purchase a 60 and then upgrade to a 90?
You could upgrade. You can do a technology upgrade eventually. So there's really 3 ways to technically upgrade.
So you can do it. You can do it a bunch of different ways.
Yep. So a 60 level device. Generally, we're not going to encourage someone to buy a 60 level device unless they have no hearing loss whatsoever. So if it's an individual with hearing loss, we're definitely going to say, hey, we cannot program for hearing loss at a 60 level or below, but a 75 level or a 90 level device and above, we can. So that allows us to fluctuate and cater to the needs. Because if you think about it, a lot of kids a lot of them don't have hearing loss. So if that's the case, like, we don't need to oversell them. So we built it so they can have a 60 level device just like dad or mom, but we can still cater it to it, and they don't have to compromise anything. They can still have clear communication. They just don't have to mess with the hearing loss aspect of it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
No, that's super cool, because I think I always worry about that in products with multiple options to buy, and then you buy the one and it doesn't fit specifically to what you want. But if you have a product that you can kind of adapt as you get used to it, is awesome. It's interchangeable almost.
And that was like, that was our biggest point of the configurator. We developed that about, I want to say, 2 years ago now, and it's been like one of our most useful tools on the website, just in the sense that it almost does a process of elimination for the community or the guy purchasing, right? So he's going through the motions, he's answering the questions that best relate to him, and it gives you a pretty close like breakdown of where you should be and what device you should go after. Now, is it 100%? No, but it is. From a logic standpoint, we try to take it to the next level where they can honestly get as fine-tuned and close to what they need as humanly possible.
Yeah, that's awesome, honestly, because I know I'm someone that will benefit from these greatly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, honestly, one of the pieces that we have that I don't know if Brad had told you guys or not, but we actually launched, I believe it was not this January, but the previous January, we launched our first ever Bluetooth model. So it's actually a removable Bluetooth model, but you can actually talk on the phone on it. You can listen to music on it, but it'll actually hardwire to your guys' podcast setup right now.
Oh, nice.
So it runs off of a 2-prong system, but it can actually hardwire to your computer right now, so you can listen to music. So we can take that experience outside of just just the hunting experience too. So guys that might own a landscaping business or be a welder, a fabricator, so on and so forth, like they can use these, not just while they're hunting, but they can use them in their everyday life on the job site, so on and so forth. So that's been kind of a cool piece to the puzzle because obviously everybody likes to experience that, but when you can start diving in and understanding all the use case scenarios of where Tetra could live and where the technology could live, I mean, it doesn't really stop.
Yeah, what do you guys do? How does the device charge? Like, what's the platform for
So we
charging?
have two different options, right? So we have, in really for our universal fit devices, which is going to be like the Ant Pods or the Alpha Shields. We have those actually take size 10 batteries. So they
Okay.
take little hearing aid batteries that you could buy off our store or from the Dollar General or Amazon, so on and so forth. So that's what those take. They run off of a 60 to 70 hour battery runtime for the set, but obviously they're air activated. So as soon as you take that little tag off of it, it's obviously winding that battery down a little bit. For our custom shields, that's where we get a little more advanced. So we actually have a rechargeable option, or we have a battery option. So from there, it really comes down to where are you going to hunt? Are you going to go to a really remote area where you need um, where you should go with the battery option? Are you going to go to the Yukon? Are you going to go to Alaska? So on and so forth. But if you are able to just throw them in a rechargeable box and plug them in the wall, we have that option too. So the custom shields are the only ones that we have currently that are rechargeable or
Mm-hmm.
battery operated. So you have two options there.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
And what about the hunt for conservation? Can you kind of
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah, no, 100%. So that was kind of like that was my baby. Honestly, like everywhere I've ever been in the outdoor space, like I've always wanted to give back to like the conservation organizations that helped like build me as a hunter and build obviously organizations and brands as hunters. So with that, we developed the Hear the Hunt for Conservation initiative. So what that allows us to do is work side by side with conservation organizations and communicate the importance of hearing loss and wearing hearing protection in the field. So at the end of the day, like our goal is to protect ears, right? And then second, we want to be the company that you advance up to or grow into. So even if folks are wearing muffs or earplugs, we want to celebrate that. We want to change the normalcy of not wearing hearing aids or not wearing hearing protection in the blind, in the field, so on and so forth. And we want to change that into a cultural shift where every time you open a magazine or a California waterfowl magazine, everybody who's hunting around loud noises calls is wearing hearing protection. Same with like NWTF, for instance. Like we want to change the fact that if you're introducing kids to patterning shotguns, all those kids should be wearing hearing protection, so on and so forth. But so with that, when folks vow to protect their ears, 2% of the overall cost of the device will go back to the hearing conservation partner of their choosing. So at checkout, when you drop your devices in, you can actually go there and select from California waterfowl. You can select from Delta. You can select from NWTF, SCI, basically all of our conservation partners who have stepped up and become a part of that message and that conservation initiative. And what we do is we kick out a quarterly check to each conservation partner as that actually adds up. So that's us doing our part and obviously building community and building a community with the right folks.
Well, we appreciate the support, and I think that's a phenomenal program that you guys started. So thank you for that.
Thank you, man. It's been a fun one. There was some trials and tribulations, just like everything. But once people understood like the concept of it, everybody's like, "Oh yeah, we can do that, 100%." So it's one of those things. The more voice that we get behind it, the bigger it'll get. And at the end of the day, I think it's really meaningful in the fact that it's kind of twofold. So you're doing it for conservation, but you're also preserving memory. So whether you're uh, someone with hearing loss or know somebody with hearing loss. At the end of the day, hearing loss is an incredibly touchy subject for some folks, and everybody relates a little bit differently. But then you flip it over to conservation, and it kind of goes hand in hand, whether it's habitat restoration or tractor work or putting in food plots, so on and so forth. People should be protecting their ears for most of those activities anyway.
Yeah, no, I think it's something everyone should key into. I know I was not great at it early on in life, and now it's kind of starting to bite me a little bit. But I was one of those kids that my wife's a speech therapist. I had like perfect vision or not vision, hearing in college, like off the charts. And I did you guys' recent test, and it is not off the charts anymore. So we're constantly working around tractors and teaching people how to shoot, and then obviously going duck hunting ourselves. So looking forward to using the product and kind of, being able to finally hear and save my hearing at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. Lucas, do you have anything you want to leave us with where people can find TETRA if they're out there looking for a product?
So if you want to find out more about TETRA, so just visit us at www.tetrahearing.com. If not, just give us a call. We're active on social media and all the different outlets everybody is nowadays. So shoot us a message, and we'd be happy to answer your questions and walk you through the process.
Awesome. Well, if you have anything else, let me know. Otherwise, we appreciate you coming out here today and getting on the podcast with us.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. Look forward to the partnership with you guys.
Yeah, definitely. We look forward to the products to save our hearing.
Thanks, Lucas. Appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Save It for the Blind podcast. You can find our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.